And we're live. Hello, everyone. Thank you. If anyone, we're going to see if I'm not entirely sure if we this up as a private or a public stream. I'll give it just a second to see if anyone is able to log in.
Oh,
And
so like an alert will go
no,
out.
yeah, I don't, I'm not even sure if it's showing up live. So we might not have any live viewers. That's okay. It will just, yeah, I have a feeling that he didn't broadcast it. It's just recording. Okay, that's cool. So I can just jump right in. I'm going to hit the intro. We're not going to do the news in the queue or any of those other things. We'll do the intro. I'll run the our ad just before the end, and we'll just jump right into it. All right, here we go.
Please lower your head and watch your step while boarding.
Welcome to the Attractions Podcast. You are all clear for dispatch. Have fun.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very, very special bonus episode of Attractions Podcast, sponsored by MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. I am Seth.
And I'm Carly.
And normally we're just here to talk to you about the latest and greatest in theme park news and more. But today is a little special. This is a special bonus episode that we are recording to talk all about my trip to Hong Kong Disneyland and the brand new World of Frozen that they opened there.
Yes,
Attractions Magazine was lucky enough to be one of a very small group of United States media outlets invited to go to Hong Kong for this event. And Matt was kind enough to give the invitation to me. So I put myself on a lovely 24-hour journey each direction. Not necessarily my favorite flight ever. I thought that the 17, 18 hours to Dubai was a lot, but you haven't lived until you have been on a plane for 16 hours and then gotten off and transferred and been on another plane for 6 hours and then got off and transferred and been on another plane for 3 hours. And oh boy.
Yeah, and you're tall.
It was a lot, yes, and I was not. I am not. I don't fly business class. I do not fly first class. I'm in coach in the back. So yeah. Luckily enough, on one of the long flights, I managed to get a row all to myself and could actually sleep. Yeah, there was one flight that was not full, and it was bliss. But that was only one of them, and I had some long flights where, I was sitting upright all night for a good, 14 hours straight. So.
Yeah, and you're going into the future. It confuses your body.
Oh my God, it's so confusing. I'm still, it's now 2 days after, and jet lag's always, I think, worse the second day. If you think that recovering from the time change of 1 hour, when we set the clocks back, you think that's bad, try setting the clocks back 13 hours.
It wreaks havoc on the body, honestly.
It is. I'm drinking a lot of water. I'm trying to, stay up until my normal bedtime and force myself to get up when the alarm says, but it's not fun.
No, I get it. But for the first time in forever.
So we have a very detailed, and honestly, I could have gone on a lot longer, but I think when you break 3,000 words, people are like, all right, enough. I don't want to hear anymore. So if you want to read about it, we have the Ultimate Guide to World of Frozen at Hong Kong Disneyland currently published on our website for you to check out. But I'm going to basically do an AMA here. I'm going to let Carly ask me anything she wants to know about, the whole trip, World of Frozen, the rest of the Hong Kong Disneyland Resort, whatever you want to hear. And I've got my photo album from the trip. I took 80 gigabytes worth of photos and videos. I mean, it's something like 2,000 or 3,000 pictures or more, and several hundred, like 10 hours worth of videos almost. I recorded almost every unique ride that's in the resort. I did walking tours of the park and every hotel. You name it. I went there and I was like, I'm not going back to Hong Kong anytime soon. So I am getting squeezing. It's not even a full day park. It's like a 3/4 of a day park, especially because it was empty. There's no one there. I never saw a wait for a ride more than 15 or 20 minutes. Jungle Cruise was the longest I waited in a line for
Wow.
just over 20 minutes. And for the most part, the only thing people wait in line there is to meet Duffy and friends. Other than that, they're not there to wait in lines. A rope drop is at 10:30 in the morning, and there's maybe 100 or so people who actually rope drop. It's a
Incredible.
totally different experience from what I'm used to in American parks, or even going to Paris or something like that. It's a friend of the podcast, Eric O, is out right now in Tokyo, and it is the complete opposite of what I experienced. It is madness there. It is wall-to-wall crowds. It's people, 75-minute waits at rope drop. And Hong Kong, if you want to visit a Disney theme park and feel like you have it to yourself, Hong Kong is the place to go for sure.
Wow. I know.
But
I love that. I think let's start with Frozen, and then I want to go into asking you some questions, just generic Hong Kong Disneyland. This podcast is targeted to people like me that are Disney super fans, and we just want to know a little bit more about the experience.
Absolutely.
So I
well,
just
okay.
want to know first off, World of Frozen.
Yeah.
What were your first
World
impressions?
of Frozen. My first, I will be brutally honest. My first impression when you walk under the berm, this is World of Frozen. Just in case you're not sure what on earth we are talking about, World of Frozen is an entire land at Hong Kong Disneyland based around the Frozen film, based around the Kingdom of Arendelle. It is, we've had a Frozen attraction at Epcot, but that is not a Frozen land. That is still technically the Norway Pavilion at Epcot, and they are building Frozen areas in Paris and Tokyo. But this is the largest, the most complete. Even when those other ones are finished, this is the biggest Frozen investment that Disney is making on the planet. And it shows, because the first thing I thought when I walked under the berm, it's kind of built behind Fantasyland. So you walk under the railroad track and you sort of emerge out from this archway. And I said, oh, Disney finally built Hogsmeade. And I meant that in the sense that they finally built a complete land. The first time you walked under the archway and walked into Hogsmeade, and you're like, I'm no longer in Universal Studios. I am now in this place. And that there's nothing to break the illusion that is a 360-degree land. A lot of the other lands at Hong Kong Disneyland are basically just a pathway with a ride and some stuff on either side of the pathway, but it's basically just like a mini land more, just not that complete sense that I am in this place. I'm completely surrounded and completely immersed. And that it is complete in the sense that it's not just one ride and one gift shop. You've got one major ride, you've got another secondary ride, you've got a full-size restaurant, you've got snack stands, you've got, and most importantly, that you have little pathways and walkways and corners and hidden areas and things that are there to serve no other purpose than to just create a sense of place. I think that's what kind of separates, what elevated Hogsmeade and Diagon Alley too. And that's the feeling you get walking into World of Frozen that you don't necessarily get in a lot of other places at Hong Kong Disneyland. Hong Kong Disneyland is a weird park with a problematic history, and it is evolved and changed in a lot of ways. And walking into World of Frozen kind of sets off in stark contrast, like how amazingly complete and detailed and perfect and spared no expense it is, versus kind of bizarro jankiness that is in some other places around Hong Kong Disneyland.
Interesting. Yeah, I think the Wizarding World is the perfect, analogy for that. The artist renderings of this were top notch. Like looking at them,
and they nailed them all.
Wow.
The thing that the number one advantage that I think they have here is every other Disney park is pretty much sat, in a flat piece of land where they throw up a berm to try to block out the outside world. But in contrast, Hong Kong Disneyland is surrounded by the most epic mountains that you can possibly imagine, and they use it to the full advantage. They frame the land using these mountains and creating artificial mountains that are in the foreground that blend perfectly with the real mountains in the background.
Just like Arendelle, yeah.
Absolutely, just like I told Josh tomorrow, who was there and talked to us very briefly. I was like, I'm really impressed you guys spent all that money to build, because the artificial mountain that the Wandering Oakens roller coaster takes place in is built at an angle with a color and a texture that just flows so perfectly into the real mountains in the background that the whole thing looks like it has been there for 1,000 years, and that it just naturally belongs nestled right there. And it's truly epic. Just
So
walking around the area.
sightline goals.
Yeah.
As far as size, can you compare it to something that maybe we would be familiar with in, the U.S. Disney parks as far as just the land goes?
Well, it has this bay in the middle of it that takes up a good chunk of land. I would say, and this might be a little bit of a hint, I would say if you can picture Disneyland, if you were to take the Submarine and Autopia patch at Disneyland,
Right.
and maybe add on the Fantasyland Theater that's right across, like think of the old motorboat. Don't demolish Matterhorn. Leave the Matterhorn there, but take everything that on the opposite side of Matterhorn, and then wrapping around kind of to the Fantasyland Theater near Small World. I would say that is very, very close to the kind of square footage. So the size of one of the larger lands at Disneyland, not the size of maybe a larger land at Disney World, maybe smaller than New Frontierland if you take into account New Fantasyland if you take into account all of the stuff that's in there. But in terms of accessible area, kind of similar to that.
Wow. And as far as like the vibe and atmosphere, there's free roaming characters.
Yeah,
music.
that it feels very alive. It's the idea is that you are visiting on summer snow day. Same sort of concept as the ride Frozen Ever After at Epcot, but they've taken that theme and spread it throughout the entire land. So you're not just visiting Arendelle on any day. You're visiting Arendelle on the anniversary of the day that Elsa saved Anna with an act of true love, and everyone is so excited to talk to you about happy, a summer snow day. It's not just that, yes, they have all the characters as walk around characters, Anna and Elsa and Kristoff, and a Wandering Oaken, who is my favorite because he is so enthusiastic. And they don't just stand there and people queue for a meet and greet. This is the only place in the park. Everywhere else in the park that I saw is people very patiently standing in a line to meet a character and take a photo. But these guys are really interactive, and they're out there wandering around, free range characters, which is my favorite kind of characters.
Yeah.
And in addition to the movie characters, who are all really well cast, really well directed. But they also have some original characters. They've got a royal conjurer who basically does birthday party magic, but he's really good, and he just sort of pops up in random spots and just entertains with. He can do balloon animals, he can do juggling, he can do sleight of hand, but the breakout character, the one that everyone went absolutely freaking crazy for, is this Mossy puppet.
Yes, I saw the internet.
Mossy. Oh my God, Mossy is. I would die for Mossy. Mossy is this interactive puppet that it talks, it blinks. It's sort of like the baby dinosaurs that they have at Universal, where the actor has a fake arm. Sorry to spoil it for you. And her arm is up inside manipulating the puppet. But it's also got, I guess, pre-recorded phrases, because she's not a ventriloquist.
Right.
She's not doing the voice, and I didn't see anyone else, nearby, like with pushed, used to though they do have a push type talking trash can at Hong Kong that I did see out. So I think it's like a corded, maybe a finger control system similar to like a Darth Vader
Mhm.
character in the parks. But Mossy can interact and talk to people, and oh my God, so cute. And these are the kind of things, even just the regular rank and file employees, each of them, they have a wide variety of different costume pieces. So everyone can kind of customize their look, and everyone comes up with a little backstory. It's sort of like the early days of um, Galaxy's Edge when the employees were all supposed to be in character.
Mhm.
It's that sort of enthusiasm that, like, all of the and obviously I was there during a press event, and I'm sure, on a busy holiday or whatever, when it's just normal guests, they're not all going to be so happy to be in character. They're just going to be moving you through fine. But the time we were there, everyone, whether they're a food service or custodial, everyone was just so excited to talk about Summer Snow Day and talk about Anna and Elsa and welcome you to Arendelle. And it really made you feel like you were just not a guest in a theme park, but that you were visiting Arendelle.
Wow. Would you say, like, how many hours going there for the first time? How many hours do you think someone would spend in this land?
Well, I'd say that people I saw were spending enormous amounts of time just posing, selfieing, doing photo shoots. I was there with a lot
Mhm.
of influencers. I think
Yes.
every influencer in China and Korea and Japan or whatever was invited, and that is a lot of the culture there. I think that's what
Right.
people, I would say if this was in Orlando, you would be waiting 90 minutes for the boat ride, and then you would get out and probably happily wait another 90 minutes for this boat ride because it's really that much of improvement. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yes.
But there I never saw a wait more than, like I said, 15, 20 minutes for anything. So um I think if you were to do both rides a couple times, if you were to really explore the shops, if you were to eat a full meal in the restaurant, if you were to go to see the show, um, we had 3 and 4 hour blocks over multiple days.
Mhm.
And by the last day, I was like, okay, I'm ducking out a little early to see some other things in the park. But like for the first time going in there, 2 to 3 hours, you could probably, if you are into Frozen, if you don't really care about Frozen, none of this is, could walk around and leave, I guess, and not care. But if you want to really do everything, have a complete experience, 2 to 3 hours, I think easily you could do.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I think, like, bringing it to the Diagon Alley thing, like, I'm not into Harry Potter, but I can spend 3 hours there getting an ice cream,
Hmm.
sitting in Nocturne Alley. And this kind of
Exactly.
feels like the same way. Like, you just
Yes.
want to be
It's
in it.
it is a great environment to just hang out.
Yeah.
There's seating, there's cozy shaded areas, there's different views. You walk all along the waterfront and you get different great angles, and you know there's just a sense that it's a place that not just to rush through, but is designed to be a place for people to relax, not to just head to the e-ticket,
Mhm.
grab your food, and get out of here. It's just you're supposed to, like, feel at home.
Yeah. No, I love that you're
Yeah,
visiting Arendelle.
yeah.
So attractions. Let's start
Attraction.
with
All
Frozen Ever
right.
After because I'm dying
So
to hear.
yeah, so and I know, like, when Pe there are people who are still a little salty about Frozen Ever After because, all right, first of all, it killed Maelstrom, which was like a very unique non-IP based attraction classic of Epcot. And it's just an overlay. It was just a reskin. And that is true about the one in Epcot. I think that Frozen Ever After had some compromises, that they did the best job that they could on it at the time. um, it's not my favorite Epcot ride, and I don't think it is worth the very long standby lines that it gets. And it's one of the first uh, Genie Plus Lightning Lanes to sell out
Yep.
everything. So what they've done here for Frozen Ever After is to take the idea, to take the basic structure, and to plus every single element to take everything to the next level. So then, rather than it being an okay D ticket. It is a solid E ticket experience from
Wow.
start to finish. Not by There are no completely new scenes. There is nothing that is completely different. It is just every little element has been polished and tweaked and improved. So it's like it's what they imagined, what they hoped. It's kind of like when you see the concept art and then the actual thing
Mhm.
is not quite, it's a little funky. This is like the concept art has finally been executed just like it is, in the renderings.
Right. So,
So
the queue, does it look similar to for us that are
So,
from
okay,
Epcot?
first up, the queue is using a similar theme, but the thing he said was the queue in Epcot, they had so little space,
Right.
and
Mhm.
so this is basically what the queue in Epcot would have been if they could have completely expanded out. So he like pointed out, you can see in this picture I've got here. One of the major sections of the queue you walk through is Christoph's ice delivery business, and
Mhm.
this was a tiny, tiny little corner, but like a wall, a corridor, and like a little corner display in Epcot. And here it is multiple full-sized rooms. And for example, this window, there's one of these in Epcot is this kind of like artificial window, kind of door. French door
Mhm.
that where you see fake sunlight kind of coming through from the other side. And there's only one of these in Epcot, and he's got two here, and then there's, you don't see in the picture, but two on the opposite side. And there's another spot where there's like one little window at Epcot, and there's a whole wall of like 7 windows here. So it's
There's so
every
many
element is
plus, yeah.
taken, expanded, plus. There's so many as you walk through here. There's like a whole room of ice, and they've got chilled carrots for Sven, hidden among the ice. There's all tributes to the Imagineers, to Hans Christian Andersen. There's so many props, um, and you walk through all this, and you do come out into an area that is very much like the village square that is just before the boarding area in Epcot. But it's been greatly expanded, and you kind of see not just buildings right around you, but it's cleverly done with some forced perspective. So it looks like the village just continues off into the distance beyond you. Real, almost like a kind of Mexico pavilion sense of being outside at night,
Mhm.
as opposed to just like we're in a cramped little room that's been painted to sort of look outside. And even the boarding station, they've taken what was a little fishing dock in the Florida version and made it this big royal boathouse, very elaborate. Everything has these intricately carved wooden, railings, and you see these glowing lanterns overhead, and it's all fully sculpted. It's not just a flat with a black light painting. It's
Mhm.
all a real sense of depth. Um, and the big thing you notice, the boats are bigger. The boats in
Wow.
Orlando are so narrow, so uncomfortable. If they ever try to fit like 3 people or 4 people in a row, it's so tight. These very comfortably seat 4 people per row, 16 people at a time. And I time the dispatch rate at a dispatch every 30 seconds.
Wow.
So that means that they can hit just under 2,000 people an hour. I think theoretical max on the Epcot version is more like 1,400 people an hour, and they get closer to 11, I think. Um, and even those numbers, I think, might be high. So, like, this is maybe not quite doubling, but probably almost close to it. The capacity of the ride. So, line's going to move like that.
And then, like you said, if the park is already not inherently as busy
Sure.
like you're used to in the US parks, this is great.
Now, I do definitely predict that this will. Right now, the most popular thing I'd say in Hong Kong that I saw was the Duffy meet and greet. By
Mhm.
far, longest wait. Longest wait for an actual ride was the Jungle Cruise, which kind of shocked me.
Right.
Folks there love the Jungle Cruise. Um, I would predict though that this will quickly jump up to be the most popular attraction in the park. It's the best done attraction. There are more animatronics than this, even compared to Mystic Manor. The
Wow.
animatronics are plentiful and very high quality. And there are very few attractions other than Mystic Manor. There are very few animatronics throughout the rest of the park. And it is, I would say, in a way, it's almost the most thrilling ride in the park, and that seems
Wow.
strange to say. The other rides in the park are physically mild, or at least milder than their American equivalents. Like Big Grizzly, which is their version of
Mhm.
Big Thunder Mountain, is very much a terrain coaster. It feels a lot like the first part of Everest. Even the backwards section is designed to not have super intense G forces. It's very re-rideable. It feels at nighttime in the back row. Yes, it feels pretty fast, especially with a good breeze going. But it's honestly, top speed G forces, not nearly as intense as certainly it's not going to loosen your kidney stones like Big Thunder
No.
does in Orlando.
Yeah.
But with Frozen Ever After, they've got a lap bar on this one for a good
Wow.
reason. There's no minimum height requirement. I was like, can you take an infant on this? Because I lost my phone. That is how my phone was on my gimbal, my
Yeah.
stabilizer, and it's on there with a super strong magnet. Like I've never had this thing fall off ever. And we went down the drop, and the drop is steeper, it is higher, it is faster than the one in Epcot, and it's got a double down. You hit the bottom, and then you come back up with a little bunny hop, and then
Yep. And
bottom out again a second time. And as we hit the first and then came up on the bunny hop. My phone flew right off of the magnetic mount in the gimbal, flew way up in the air, and then dropped down right back in the boat. So freaking lucky.
wow, you really did
Because yes, there would have been no coverage of this event otherwise. It would have been all over.
Wow. And you
So
mentioned animatronics. That was one of the big things
yes,
when we first
so
learned about this ride with Elsa and Anna
mhm.
compared to what we were used to at Epcot.
Yeah, so I mentioned they have plussed every element, and the scenes are all more texture, more dimension, things that was before. If it was just a black wall, now it's like sculpted and painted. Um, and the lighting is better, and they've got more breathing room. Even, I mean, it's longer, it's 90 seconds longer,
Mhm.
at least. But the biggest thing that you're going to notice is the animatronics for Anna and Elsa do not have those projected backlit faces, which if you visited the ride when it very first opened, we had a conversation with uh Michelle. Oh my goodness, I've got his last name here. He's got a French last name. Um, oh, see, now I've Michelle Deduc. I'll find it here in the article. But he took us on a tour, and that was one of the questions that was asked about the faces, and said, if you remember when it first opened in Epcot, the faces did look good for the first couple weeks.
Right.
But the problem is that with vibration and aging of the plastic and aging of the bulbs, it is simply impossible to Michel Denduc. I did get it right. Um, so he pointed out that, as good a job as the folks at Epcot do, it was just not possible to keep up with the maintenance to keep those faces looking the way they were intended.
Right.
And so now they have gone back to basics, but in a whole new way, because these are all electric animatronics, much like Hondo Anaka over in Galaxy's Edge. But they have incredibly flexible skin and incredible articulation, not just opening and closing the mouths and opening and closing the eyes. But if you look carefully, we've got a full video that's being posted. I'm not sure if it's live yet. It's probably still being processed. But I mean, their mouths kind of dimple. They kind of
Wow.
they smile. They have expression. They have life to their faces that I can't really remember. Like I remember when the Little Mermaid attraction opened, and they said, "Oh, we've really done all this work with the lip sync of Ariel, and she's got the most realistic lips." And now you look at Ariel, and she's like, "Nah, not. I mean, she's really just flapping." But these characters really the lip sync is really good, and the faces just look natural and they don't have that weird, creepy mismatch between their necks
Mhm.
and their skin tone anymore. Now, some of the other characters, the trolls still do have projected faces, but
Mhm.
they've improved the projection technology so much that you don't see any gap between the face and the body. And Sven and Olaf have the back projected eyes, and I still think those work really, really well.
Oh
I
yeah.
think those are really effective.
So do you love the ride there compared to
I gotta say, I'm not a huge fan of the one in Epcot. I do it once every few months. If I'm there with someone who's never done it, I'll be like, all right, we'll lightning lane it, whatever.
yeah,
But I can take or leave the one in Epcot. I want to go back and rewrite it now that I've got this fresh in my
that's a
mind,
great
just
idea.
to
Mhm.
try to look and figure out but it's not just one thing. It's just every little thing adds up to feel more satisfying, to feel like this is what they meant the first time. This is what they wanted to do. I think my favorite little added touch is when you finish the backward section and you pull into the area with Marshmallow, the big
Mhm.
abominable snowman. In Epcot, the room feels a little claustrophobic and stuff. Here they've opened up the ceiling, and you look up. I don't have a good shot of it here, but I've got a great shot of it in the video. And you see the nighttime sky, and there's shooting stars overhead, and the
Wow.
aurora borealis, the nighttime lights, and it's just this epic, giant sense of space. And they're just when you do the splashdown and you see the scale model of the Arendelle Castle, it just feels like it's got so much more depth. It doesn't just feel like it's that line in Monty Python and the Holy Grail when they see Camelot. It's like, it's only a model. That's
Yeah.
how I always feel when I'm on the Epcot ride. It's only a model. But yeah, it's everything. The forced perspective angles, everything is just tweaked and perfected to be like, this is what it really should have been.
So I have a hard question. So
Yes.
Disney parks, we've had a lot of, not a lot, but a decent amount of new attractions recently. Tron at Magic Kingdom, Guardians of the Galaxy, Cosmic Rewind.
Hmm.
It's hard to compare these because they're all apples and
Apples and
oranges.
oranges. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But would you say this kind of holds its own and
I would absolutely
stand out?
say it is up, and in a certain way, Guardians of the Galaxy, I think, is a very complete experience. Because it has a very nice pre-show or queue with museum, and the
Mhm.
pre-show with the transportation. When everything's working, Guardians of the Galaxy, I think, is absolutely an e-ticket experience from front
Yep.
to back. Some of the other things that you've mentioned have been like, I think Tron is a solid ride, but does not. I don't think the parts are live up to like the sum is more than its whole.
Mhm.
And especially once you add in the whole virtual queue system,
Yeah.
not a overall pleasant experience. And I think there's been some other Disney stuff lately where there's kind of been maybe a disconnect between the core of the ride and the overall theming or execution, or see the seams. This, from the facade straight through the exit gift shop, even the exit gift shop, which is the main gift shop of the land, is perfectly in theme. It's got a backstory. It's got unique merchandise, which we can talk some more about the merchandise. But
Right.
another thing that reminded me a lot of Harry Potter is that everywhere else in Hong Kong Disneyland, I couldn't even find stuff that just said Hong Kong Disneyland. I got this is the only exclusive thing in pretty much in the whole park I could find. This
Oh,
is Albert the monkey,
I
who is the
love it.
star of Mystic Manor, but they don't have any other Mystic Manor merchandise. They don't have, I found one hat that said Hong Kong Disneyland. Everything else was just Disney parks or generic Disney characters.
Mhm.
But Frozen, almost everything there is unique and exclusive to World of Frozen. You're not going to find it in Tokyo. You're not going to find it. I mean, maybe it'll turn up eventually in Epcot, but for now, that's the only place that you can get it. And
Oh,
it's
I
stuff
looked at a
that,
lot of the pictures, the headbands.
yeah,
Oh my god.
we can talk some more about the merch, but and it's the exit. Yes, you exit through the gift shop, but the gift shop is also a themed experience, and there's story in there, and there's detail, and So from beginning to end, absolutely holds its own with the best that Disney has done in the last few years. Sure.
Wow. So then going on to the other main,
Yeah,
I'm
so
super curious.
the other attraction I think is going to be controversial, because it is an e-ticket execution of a B-ticket ride. Wander and Oaken's Sliding Sleighs. I think when this was originally announced, I think some people were hoping this would be I know I was hoping it was going to be like a Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. It's not. This is Barnstormer. This is Flight of the Hippogriff. This
So
is
a
like
super short
one
kiddie
step.
coaster.
This is a from dispatch, loading station to unloading, 60 seconds exactly. From the top of the lift hill to when you hit the brake run is 30 seconds exactly. This is
But
this is designed to be your kid's first roller coaster. This is
interesting.
Gadgets Go Coaster, and I think that if they had just sat it in a field in a put it a flat and not raised people's expectations by building this incredible mountain around the roller
Right.
coaster, people have been like, okay, it's fine. It's a kiddie coaster. They need one of those in that park. They've got Space Mountain, which is a full, it is
Mhm.
the same Space Mountain that they have in California. Exactly. So, that's the full grown roller coaster. They got Big Grizzly, which is like their Big Thunder Mountain, which is their like tween coaster. But there was nothing in this park for kids under 100 centimeters, basically. There was nothing, no place to take your kid to have their first roller coaster experience. You need your Barnstormers, you need your Hippogriffs, right? You need your Troller Coaster,
Mhm.
but no one else would take a simple, I'm not going to say it's off the shelf because I think that the actual track layout is an improvement over most of those that I mentioned, just
Of course.
because
Yeah. Mhm.
it's got the cars are very well detailed, and the track has some snap to it. In the front row, it's pretty gentle, but in the back row, you get some nice G forces coming around those curves. Like the last time I went on it in the back row, and I was like, oh, I got to hold on to my camera because I'm really, it's coming around those corners pretty nice. It's not made for me, but the fact that it is in this huge sculpted mountain with waterfall cascading, and it's right on the water, so you get these incredible views. It interacts with the pathways, it interacts with the queue. So as you're standing in the queue, you see the ride zipping by. So I guess it raises expectations much higher than the roller coaster itself can deliver, and some people have really been dinging it for that.
Right.
But all the people who are dinging it for that are people who are just watching it online and who are not there in person.
Mhm.
Every one of us who went on it were like, I can't believe they invested all this money. Like this seems crazy to do
Right.
this. But none of us complained about it after we got off. We were like, that was fun. And if I was a little kid and that was my first roller coaster ever, like that would raise the bar so high.
Yeah, I was
Like
about
then
to
you would
say,
go on any of these other kiddie coasters and be
letdown.
like, what? Um, I wish it had another little show scene at the end. There's a place at the brake run where it could have had another animatronic, but come on, then we're really breaking the bank. It's already got one animatronic near the beginning where you see Olaf and Sven riding on a treadmill, and it's a super simple animatronic. It doesn't have lip sync or anything. But it's kind of like the Jane the ostrich at the Adventureland Treehouse that we talked about recently, where
Right.
it's this really expressive sculpt that really captures the character, and even though it's not highly animated, it has this kind of bouncy natural motion that I mean, that's the essence of animation. You don't need it to be super realistic. As long as the motion has the right spirit, your brain fills in the rest.
Right.
And uh yeah, I mean, it definitely I had very low expectations, and I said in the article that it is the most elaborately over designed kiddie coaster on earth. I'm sticking with that. I love it for it.
I love it. So maybe a little bit of length, one more show
Yeah.
scene, and it could have been a little more.
I mean, yes, but it's not meant to be an ETA.
Yeah.
You know, it
Mhm.
is literally just the thing, to take your kid on for their first roller coaster ever. And it still has that sauna window with Sven popping
Yes.
up, that they have from Epcot. They've got all sorts of little hidden details in the queue. The train is comfortable and really elaborate. I can't complain. I can't complain.
Yeah. So like a kitty Hagrid's almost.
Exactly. That is, yeah, exactly.
So there's one more other, I will say,
Yes.
attraction, more of an interaction theater,
And
live
and
entertainment.
this was one that I walked into having absolutely no clue what I was going to
Yeah.
see inside. It is called Playhouse in the Woods. And it's a hybrid. It's kind of an interactive, um it is a show that involves Anna and Elsa, who are face characters, and Olaf, who is a puppet. And there is a digital backdrop and digital projection mapping used all through the room, to bring special effects to life. There really is not much of a plot. It's just the idea is that this playhouse is where Elsa used to come to practice her magic in private, when she was a little girl. And now she's opened it up to everyone to come and play with her and Elsa, or her and Anna. And there's no seats, so you're just kind of standing around. And there's a little introduction, and then they ask you to pick which of the four elements you identify with. They have these statues for earth, air, fire, and water in the
Mhm.
four corners of the room. So it's kind of like a little movement thing where they encourage people to move around the room and pick the corner that you feel more comfortable in. And then they do little things with lighting and special effects on each of the statues. They pick some people out of the crowd to like help them conjure air spirits. It's cute, it's simple. It's less than 10 minutes total. The big finale is that Elsa shows off her ice magic and has projections going all around the room, and then we get Snope. So you get to have a fake snowfall every, I don't know, 15 minutes. This runs continuously.
So
There's
that was
no
going to be
set
my
show
next
times.
question.
It's just,
Do they shut the doors for the next group or just open and you can?
oh no, yeah,
Okay.
they start, close the doors, start the show, and then they dump and immediately bring a next audience. I don't know if there's two sets of Anna and Elsa's, or if these women
Okay.
just have to
Because I was like, what
keep
goes
working.
on when they're not in there? I wasn't sure, but this makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, there's just, as soon as one, it's not like scheduled show times. It's just
Mhm.
as soon as one is over, they rotate out and do it again and do it again. And I saw it twice, and it was pretty much the same both times. I don't know if there's slight variations depending on like audience participation or whatever, but
Mhm.
it's not trying to retell the story. There's no live singing or anything, but the performers were both super enthusiastic. I mean, I thought the woman playing Anna really captured her spirit. um and it's nice because you get to meet these characters, see them, you can take pictures of them or whatever, but it's not just standing in line to take a selfie and then move on. It's like
Right.
you have a moment, together. So yeah, I thought it was more satisfying than just waiting for a meet and greet.
Very cool. Yeah, I liked how it's interactive, but in even the lead up of the land, it was very hard to explain and
Yes.
understand what it was until you actually did it.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is another one that we took a full video of, that you're going to be able to find on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And some entertainment that I got to see that you will only get to see if you watch our videos, because it was not one time only, folks. They did a whole musical presentation, a dedication ceremony, with live singers, and it was funny. We were outside the land, before they let us in for the ceremony. We could kind of overhear them doing sound check and rehearsal, and we hear this person just nailing these songs. We're like, is Adina here? Do you think they flew in Adina?
Yeah.
Because she was the woman, the cast member, just killed. I would say the live, as good as the live vocalists we have in Florida and California are, I was even more impressed
Wow.
with the range and the power. The woman who sings Circle of Life in the Festival Lion King show that they have there has one of the most incredible vocal ranges and intensity I've ever like on Broadway. Forget it. I mean, this woman just blew me away, and she was not alone. Really high quality singing talent at this park. So they
Wow.
showed that off. Josh D'Amaro, Jennifer Lee, Bob Iger all came out, talked, and then they capped it off with a fireworks ceremony. But the thing you gotta see is this drone show. They did a drone production that was truly one of the most impressive that I've ever seen. They created the horse water spirit from Frozen 2. They created, you know, fractal diamond snowflakes in the sky. I mean, and it wasn't just showing off technology, but it was very well synchronized to the music. They had an orchestral score, and I got chills. I seriously got chills. So check out these videos on our YouTube channel. I really
Yes, I had a quick question. You
Yeah.
mentioned singing for the attractions and the playhouse that you go into. The language, is it all in English? Yes,
That's
I wanna know.
excellent. So if you watch, what you will see is that English is the primary language here. And as someone who does not speak any Mandarin or Cantonese, I was able to get around perfectly fine. Definitely on Disney property, everyone speaks English who's working there. Uh, and for the most part, it is like kind of a British accented English. So it really, I had no communication problems talking to people. Signage is mostly in both English and Chinese, and often you will hear them do English alternate in shows between English and both Cantonese and Mandarin. There are three languages total. There are two primary Chinese languages, Cantonese and Mandarin, which to us Americans might both sound the same, but to people who are Chinese sound like two completely different languages.
Right.
So, for instance, on the Jungle Cruise, when Jungle Cruise first opened back in 2005, they actually had 3 different queues. You could pick which language you wanted to hear the Jungle Cruise in.
That's
At
so
some
cool.
point, they
Oh,
stopped doing that,
okay.
and the Jungle Cruise is trilingual. So the skipper has to say every single joke, every
Wow.
single sentence in 3 different languages.
Oh.
So he is able to be completely not funny in 3 different languages. There's no quicker way to kill comedy than to repeat a joke 3 times and have the timing, the pacing, and the pronunciation be wrong on all 3. It's triple threat. So in the case, for example, of the Frozen Ever After ride, all of the singing is in English, but
So you're hearing "Let It Go," the version
you're
we
hearing Let It Go, you're hearing the original actors sing all of the parts. Olaf sings Do You Want to Build a Snowman? But then when he talks to you, he talks to you in Chinese.
there.
The trolls, half the trolls speak in English and half the trolls speak in Chinese. So they, you know, it's kind of like that thing where someone says, "Oh, something, something, something" in Chinese, and then the other person repeats in English. "Oh, yes, blah blah blah." So, like, whichever language you know, you are getting the same information.
Mhm.
But it was done fairly well and naturally in the case of the Frozen Ever After ride. Some rides are pretty much entirely English, like Mystic Manor. Lord Mystic speaks completely in English with like 1 or 2 words of Chinese, and Albert speaks like monkey Chinese, I guess.
Yeah.
So, he's like, for the most part, it is English forward, but when you go to see something like the Mickey and the Wondrous Book Show, which is sort of like their equivalent of the old Mickey Magical Map,
Mhm.
it's a big stage musical.
Right.
They've got super titles. It's like going to the opera, where all of the characters are singing in songs in English, but all of the dialogue is in both Mandarin and Chinese. But they have subtitles, so if someone is saying something in English, there's Mandarin subtitles on, Chinese subtitles on the side, or if they're speaking in Mandarin, you've got Cantonese translation and you've got English translation, and it's all going at the same time. It's like,
Wow.
where do I look?
Yeah.
It's a little overwhelming, but like I, you know, it's our fault for being monolingual Americans.
Right.
Like, other people are able to learn 2, 3, 4 languages as children and get by just fine, but we just get
We
raised with one
struggle.
language, unfortunately.
But what
So,
we are good at is eating. So I'm
well,
like really
that is an
excited.
awesome transition. Congratulations.
I'm
Yes,
so
let's talk some
excited.
food.
Yes.
So I will say this. I looked at all the food. I smelled all the food. I talked to people about the food. I cannot say I personally tried all the food because I'm going to be brutally honest. Like I have kind of a sensitive stomach, and I
Mhm.
am always nervous when I am traveling, especially, I'm like, my nightmare is like, for my stomach to not be happy, and then I can't participate in these press things. So I'm very kind of picky and choosy. I don't eat a lot when I'm traveling, and I try to stick with things that I don't think. It's not
Well,
that I don't
upset
want
you. Yeah.
trying. I love trying new. I
Mhm.
love spicy food. I love different multicultural food, but I have certain like triggers and stuff, so I have to like so I can talk to you about the food, but I didn't necessarily taste everything myself. But everything I did taste was fantastic. Um, so the primary restaurant here is called the Golden Crocus Inn, and it is obviously Scandinavian style food. You've
Mhm.
got Swedish, Norwegian, different, Nordic countries inspired.
Exactly what you want when you have travelers.
Exactly, and as someone who is a big fan of the IKEA cafeteria,
Yes.
this is like elevated, super elevated
Yes.
IKEA. So, first of all, it's really cute inside. It is cafeteria style service, like you get a tray and you go along the line and they hand it off to you. So it's not table service,
Mhm.
but I really felt like the food quality and presentation was table service quality. And then when you go to sit, there's all these different rooms. So it's like you're not just in one big cavernous room. It's
Mhm.
like divided up into little sections so that it feels more intimate. There's all these little hidden details. There's a hiding cat. So Michelle, the Imagineer behind all of this, is cat obsessed, and so
Oh.
in every one of his projects through the Disney parks, there is a hidden cat. The one he's most famous for is he did in the Fantasy Fair at near Sleeping Beauty Castle in Anaheim. If near the Princess Meet and Greet, if you look up, there's a Figaro. There's an animatronic Figaro cat, and he's trying to get at a bird in a cage. And that was his like personal pet project because he's a cat person, and I'm a cat person,
Yep.
so I appreciate that. Cat ladies of the world
I
unite.
love it. Yes.
Here are some of the highlights, some of the things I did try. The big meal that I ate there was a lamb shank, and this was like a
Ooh.
whole leg of lamb. Um, so meaty, so juicy, and lamb can be gamey, it can be tough, it can get dried out,
And this
but
is quick service.
they braised this thing like, I don't know if they said like 24 hours, something ridiculous. Like
Mhm.
this thing was so juicy and just falling off the bone, full of flavor. And of course, you've got that thick Swedish style brown gravy and the mashed potatoes and roast vegetables. And I love they kind of serve everything in these cast iron skillet looking things. That's what they actually serve it to you in.
And are
Um,
those, disposable or do you return them?
you return them. Yes,
Okay.
you return them. And they're I don't think they were actual cast iron. I think they were like maybe a heavy resin or something.
Right.
But it's like solid. You're not eating off of plastic. It feels kind of a little bit like when Galaxy's Edge, when Docky Bay 7 opened, and they were trying to like make it a little more of an elevated in terms
Mhm.
of then they had to get rid of the sporks because everyone stole them.
Right.
That's kind of what it feels like what they're doing here in terms of the flatware, the tableware and stuff. I think the most impressive item that they have here is this seafood stew, because this is like if you serve this item in American theme park, this would be like a $30 entree
Right.
because it's got
At
these
least.
giant, like these are prawns the size of your hand with the head still on and big mussels and like a huge portion of salmon in this creamy dill sauce. Cream is one of my triggers, so
Yeah, I
I
mean,
just had to smell it. It looked really good. Everyone who tried it said it was really like rich. Um, the if you're an IKEA fan like me, they have these
yep.
meatballs, but they're like way bigger and plumper than the IKEA meatballs. Again, the gravy was really good. Um, they have sausages. I had some of the sausages, and they're just good. Spicy. Kind of German style bratwurst sausages. They've even got like a mushroom pasta, and it's topped with like a fried dippy egg, like a runny egg.
Yes, I
Um,
saw the picture, a lot of
yeah,
pictures of the pasta, and that to
yeah,
me had like the mushroom oysters. That looked
yes,
amazing.
yes, yeah. I had some of the mushrooms, and just everything. Like ingredient quality was really high. Everything tasted really fresh. Everything was plated. Like these platings that you see here on the demos, that's how it was coming out of the kitchen.
Wow.
Um, And if you've got a sweet tooth, your other option is the Northern Lights, which is the confectionery shop. And they've got like, fondue that's like white chocolate that's been dyed royal blue. So you can get like all these things in blue chocolate, like blue candy apples.
And Disney Parks recently posted like an Instagram reel of them making them, which was
Yes,
so cool.
yes, it was very cool. And they also partnered with Godiva. So you can buy a box of Godiva frozen chocolate. So yeah, it's definitely it's not just like your generic flavorless milk chocolate, with
Yeah.
Mickey stamped on it. This is really high. This is stuff that's like almost too cute to want to eat. Almost. Almost.
Almost.
And they also have a lot of grab and go. This is the one that I thought was the most wild. This is like their little bento box. And it's this I don't know if you've ever had Nordic hot dogs, but like they they put like Swedish people or whatever, they put some what we would consider some weird stuff on hot dogs.
Yeah.
Like I've had hot dogs topped with like tuna fish and hot dogs topped with mayonnaise and like so this is
Mhm.
like this loaded hot dog that's got World of Frozen burnt into the bun and it comes with a side dish that is like an Asian it's cucumber and crab with a K and Kewpie
Perfect.
mayonnaise and fish eggs
Wow.
as your side salad, and then it comes with a piece of like frosted frozen cake.
But no, this is perfect because I
Yeah,
mean that kind of mimics what commuters do over there. Is they grab a
absolutely.
bento
Yeah.
box.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean like this it's perfect for their audience. They know their audience because it definitely had authentic Norwegian ingredients, Norwegian feel, but it then would have this kind of uniquely Asian twist to it.
Yes. Very cool.
And I mentioned the merchandise before, but we got to talk. We got to talk about some of the merch. Um, I think the biggest hit that I saw with a lot of people, first of all, were these sweaters. They have
Mhm.
all of these Christmas sweaters, and it's a lot like when they had opened Diagon Alley, and they had like get a Ron Weasley sweater or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
That's like these
Like
handmade
other, yeah.
knitted Scottish sweaters. That's exactly like these look like they would be authentic Scandinavian, hand knitted sweaters, except you look really close and the symbols are all like, subtle frozen iconography woven into the design.
And so like
Um,
price point, because I know like ears and stuff are cheaper there than what we're used to in
yeah,
America.
so it's hard for me to do the math
Mhm.
because so they've got a system where 100 Hong Kong dollars equals $13.78 American, which is like a weird number. So like I'm constantly like trying to do mental math, and I was a theater major, not a math major.
Right.
But the way I worked it out was things there, souvenirs I found to be equivalent or actually slightly cheaper than United States prices. Like
Mhm.
I bought a hat that I feel like a hat in United States would probably be just about $30,
30
and
bucks, yeah.
there it was like 25. I think the sweaters, like the nice sweaters, I think were between like 50 and 60, and I feel like here it would have been like
80, yeah.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, it wasn't like dirt cheap, but it was definitely like a little less expensive
Mhm.
than I would have expected to be back home. And some things were like like they sell these postcards, and the postcards were like maybe $6 or $7 a piece, but they would postmark it for you for free and send it anywhere in the world.
Wow.
So like, you go to Hogsmeade or whatever, and yeah, you can buy a postcard and they will stamp it with the owl, but they will still charge you for the stamp, and that's just a US first class stamp.
Right.
This, they would like, nope, you just put it in our box and we'll send it.
I did see some
So
videos of that. That looks
yeah.
very cool. Very
So I will say the one I sent home has not arrived yet. We will find out how long it takes for those to actually be delivered. Uh, but some of the other really cute, unique stuff, we've seen shoulder plush for other
Mhm.
characters. They went all out in shoulder plush. They've got Olaf, they've got Marshmallow. I have a troll. I think the most popular ones were the snow geese. Everyone
Yes, of
wanted the
course.
snow geese.
Everyone
Um,
loves them. Mhm.
yeah. And the other thing they have is this talking interactive Olaf, and he's this tiny little, he's the size of a shoulder plush, but he's animatronic with lip sync and eye movement. And not only does he have lots of random phrases that he can say, but he will pair up with another one. I don't know how they know each other is there,
That
but
is
if you
cool.
have
Yeah.
two of them and you activate them both at the same time, they will have a whole conversation back and forth. It was is pretty nifty.
Wow. Oh, and
Um,
what caught my eye was the headbands because they reminded me a lot of the Nintendo World ones that I love that have like the plush characters, like they're
yes,
sitting on your head.
yes, exactly. I got one. Oh wait, hold on. Let me see. Where did I put it? Here we go.
Yes, I
So there
love.
we go.
Mhm. Oh yeah, that's so
There's
cool.
my Anna headband. Sorry if anyone wanted to see me wearing it in pictures inside the park. That was not going to happen, but there you go. So, and the really cool thing about these is that they're kind of made to look homemade, hand
Mhm.
stitched. They're a lot like in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, how they have the dolls there that are made to be like in universe dolls that
Right.
someone made out of scraps. So they're not like super on model. They're a little they're so charming because they're a little bit
Right.
big headed. So yes, and it's got a really nice soft texture. It's not, a lot of the headband things are very hard
Mhm.
plastic, and these they feel soft.
No,
So
I love it. You have to
yeah,
keep it on. Yeah.
yeah, I have to keep it on for the rest of it. So yeah, and all of these things that I was describing, this is all inside TikTok Toys and Collectibles. And the idea behind this shop is that the royal toy maker who made toys for Anna and Elsa when they were growing up owns this store, and it's got all these references to Hans Christian Andersen stories. There's the one-legged soldier, the tin soldier who falls in love with the ballerina. There's a short film, if you've seen that one that Disney did of that,
Mhm.
and just lots of great detail all throughout the shop. And
Wonderful.
it's
So
great seeing there's just so much stuff that is like exclusive, exclusive, exclusive.
yes. Oh my God. I can't even imagine. I know people are going to go over there and bring a
Mhm.
whole suitcase.
Yeah, and if you're
All
into
the merch.
Disney bounding, they also, I mean, they had dresses. They have a lot of hair accessories. There was a whole thing like they gave people ribbons, and they were doing styling, like they'll braid stuff to,
Yes.
ribbons to braid into your hair. And yeah, you can live the full-on Arendelle lifestyle. Fill your closet for sure.
Very cool. And then going to the resorts, are there like add-ons to have the fruit? They do the Duffy and Friends thing.
Oh, I did not detail it in this report, but maybe we'll post it later. They have definitely activated Frozen throughout the resort. In the hotels, you can go all out and rent a Frozen hotel room at one of these special
Ooh,
Frozen suites that they've redecorated with the furniture, the wallpaper, there's a giant Olaf that comes in the room. Yeah, I mean down to the wallpaper in the toilet, like everything if you want to live, eat, breathe, drink Frozen. They have Frozen picnics. They have like a tea set. They have special drinks. They have all sorts of activations throughout the resort. Yeah, I should probably post some because it it was a little overwhelming. Like you can get Frozen face painting done.
I think I saw Frozen slippers for the rooms or
Yes,
something.
they gave us. I have a pair of Frozen.
Oh,
They gave us pairs of Frozen slippers and shoe mats. That was very nice. That was in our rooms too. Yeah, either there's like a banner in our room and a welcome amenity kit. I got a Frozen toothbrush. I mean, you name it. You name it. They got it.
and
You name
people
it.
will eat it up because we know that will
It's
happen.
very, very popular there. I mean, I had more than one person when I was in Hong Kong itself. Outside of the resort, I was on a walking tour, and people wanted to know about it because they saw I was wearing a Hong Kong Disneyland hat, and they were like, "Oh, Frozen is very popular here." So I think it's going to do very well for them. I would
Love
like
it.
to see if anyone has some photos or videos of what the crowds were like for the official opening day.
Oh, there are. Yes, there was a
Yep.
lot of, let's just say, running.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been
Yep.
fun to watch. So I do want to talk a little bit about just Hong Kong Disneyland and
Sure.
going
Absolutely.
there for your first time. I've
Yeah.
never been. A lot of us probably haven't been, but want to go. Overall impressions.
Okay. Overall impressions is it is definitely a mirror universe Disneyland. As someone who is obviously very, very familiar with Walt Disney World in Anaheim and has also been to Paris, you know, uh, it is definitely a complicated, um, emotionally complicated thing to talk about because it was definitely a place that was built on the cheap, and you can tell
Mhm.
that its origins were very compromised. It was originally built during the Paul Pressler era, and it was built. It was like much like California Adventure was originally built way underbuilt and then had to be basically completely redesigned and rebuilt in order to
Which
be a
is
legitimate Disney
so
park.
challenging. Yeah.
You can see that the shadow of the opening day Hong Kong Disneyland, when that park opened, it only had Adventureland, Tomorrowland, and Fantasyland. It had
Mhm.
one dark ride, the Winnie the Pooh dark ride, which is the exact same ride in Florida. Not the best dark ride in Florida, and the only dark ride in the entire park when the place
Wow.
opened. Um, and everything that they had it just felt, all the original stuff just felt like second-rate clones of what was in uh, other Disney parks. Now they have gone back over it. They have expanded beyond the berm. They have added all sorts of unique things. They have gone back in, and there's a lot of things to like about it. There's a lot of things that are familiar, but it's just different enough that it's surprising and different. The landscaping is phenomenal. It's basically a tropical island,
Mhm.
and so the lushness, especially of Adventureland, is just amazing. And if you are the kind of person who likes things that aren't rides, but likes things that are walkthroughs or garden areas or just little things to look at, that's great. They've got this fairy tale walkthrough area that's kind of like the Disneyland Storybook Land, except instead of taking a boat, you're walking around it. And little dioramas, little things. They've even got the porch on Main Street where you can sit on a chair. And people
Wow.
do. People just I saw an old guy with his shoes off, sitting barefoot, stretched out, reading the newspaper. And it's like if that's the experience you want, just kind of wandering around, sightseeing, taking some pictures, you're not into it for the ride so much, it's maybe the best Disney park for that because that's kind
Wow.
of what it's built for. But
Sounds like a fever dream a little bit with some feng shui thrown
exactly.
in.
Oh, and a lot of feng shui. In fact,
Yeah.
they specifically talked to us about
Mhm.
feng shui and how it came into the design of things, which I respect. I found that all really fascinating. But if you think that you go to a Disney park to ride Disney rides, I would say it is probably not worth the 24-hour flight in each direction for that purpose alone, because Frozen is the exception. Frozen is
Mhm.
absolutely fantastic. If you're a Frozen super fan, I'd say it's worth it. Mystic Manor and Big Grizzly are both world class, and they're both on my top 20 list. Glad I saw it. Pretty much everything else is either a clone that is the same or inferior.
Mhm.
Uh, and the other things they have that are unique were for me one and dones, and were kind of janky. They have an Iron Man simulator that is basically Star Tours with Iron Man slapped on it, and it's a fake Robert Downey Jr. and it's very PlayStation looking
Right.
CGI. And the only thing that I really loved is that they've got Stan Lee making a cameo in the safety film. Ant-Man versus the Wasp is possibly the single most boring shooting ride I've ever been on in my life. They took Buzz Lightyear and stripped all the personality and movement and animation out of it.
Interesting.
And it's just static sets with some blinking computer screens. There's no sense of danger or excitement or even movement. You're just crawling through these very, very static, boring, ugly sets, and there's no sense of accomplishment. There's even the shrinking effect is really lame. That was a huge letdown. And their Jungle Cruise was just weird. The live shows were fascinating. The Like I said, the Festival Lion King show is like this super plussed version of ours, but it's also pacing there is really strange. We have, I think, in Western culture, an expectation that pacing should build and build and build, and everything, like, you do something and then you have to take it to the next
Well,
level,
that-
say, and then a show should kind of reach a peak and a climax, and you should feel some kind of sense of catharsis, and then we wrap it up and get out of here. And in, I think, Asian cultures, it's a very different sense of pacing, where we just sort of introduce a vibe and a moment, and we sort of remain in this moment, and then we stop, and then we move on to another thing. But it's not necessarily that same sense of progression and acceleration and that we kind of expect. So things like for example, in the Festival of the Lion King show, where in our version you have Be Prepared, and you have them singing Be Prepared and doing choreography, and then at the same time you have someone doing the fire dancing, and
Right.
the song builds and the fire dancing builds, and it all builds together into a big climax. Whereas here, it's they sing the song, and then someone comes out and does fire dancing, and then those are kind of like, we do one thing, then we do another thing. The during How Can You Feel the Love Tonight, we sing the song, and then someone comes out and dances, and then someone comes out and does the aerial stuff. But it's not like
Oh, interesting.
all one
Connecting.
thing
Yeah.
with everything happening and flowing. So that was kind of, for me, having to like step back from my Western preconceptions about pacing and layering and timing and stuff, and just sort of trying to appreciate, because the production values, oh my god, like the fire effects, the stage that moves up and telescopes and like becomes like a birthday cake that's like rotating in 3 different directions at once, and their floats don't just like move out and sit there, but they actually like move around the space and turn around and spin. And no tumble monkeys, though. Very disappointed that there are no tumble monkeys.
Duffy and Friends. Is it just you like throw up and they're everywhere?
It is everywhere. From the second you in every gift shop, Duffy is front and center. Duffy is the star of that park, and Mickey is a distant afterthought. I mean,
Wow.
yes, Mickey is on the floral, but it's Duffy on the banners, it's Duffy on the billboards, it's Duffy on the signs. The first big gift shop when you walk into the right, where the candy shop would be in Walt Disney World,
Mhm.
front right on Main
Right.
Street, is Duffy Meet and Greet, and the cinema is My Travels with Duffy, the Main Street Cinema, and where the Jolly Holiday Bakery is the Duffy Meet and Greet, and it's the most elaborate. Every other meet and greet in the park is like, the castle has like a couple rooms inside, sort of like the Princess Meet and Greet in Disneyland, but like you can miss it. You can't even barely see where the sign to enter. Duffy is like, here is Duffy. Duffy has a huge house. There are multiple rooms of like pre-show of places to pose with your Duffy character. And this is a thing all over the park. They have entire attractions that are nothing but walk through garden areas with pedestals that it
For your
says, place your Duffy character here and pose your Duffy character here. Not even you're in the picture with, no, you're just posing your Duffy. And I saw grown men in the park doing nothing but taking a Duffy around, putting him on a garbage can, putting him on a railing, putting him on over here, and doing photo shoots like like Duffy is Naomi Campbell or something. I mean, it's like
Wow. So, like,
and
I know you said there
everywhere,
wasn't a lot of
everywhere.
wow. So there wasn't a lot of wait times for attractions, but do you know offhand like what the Duffy wait times were? I'm
Oh,
just
it was 30 minutes all the
okay.
time. It started at 30 minutes and it was always 30 minutes, no
Wow.
matter what. I I was lucky because like when they brought us into the park and they were like, and you guys are getting a special meet and greet with Lena Bell. And I was like, oh, I'm getting first in line for that. I was like the second or third person to do that because I
Okay.
saw as soon as I was hugging Lena Bell, I saw the line of the rest of the journalists was like an hour long right behind me.
Right.
I'm getting and I will say that she was very well animated. She was very warm, very enthusiastic. I think it's a really cute design. They still don't feel like Disney characters to me. They
Mhm.
still just feel like generic IP free stuffed animals to me. But I'm I can't hate on Lena Bell. She's
Right.
she's my girl. I'm
Yes, yes.
good. But it was just frustrating because I really wanted something that was unique to Hong Kong Disneyland and that was, based on a unique character or a unique IP from there. And everywhere I went, every single store was Duffy, Duffy, Duffy.
Interesting.
So
So, like the park goers are very different from the States. Would you say like you could just go there and people watch and be entertained? Like,
Uh, yes, I would. Like I said, that the like major occupation. I think everyone who is there is an influencer or wants to be an influencer, and
mhm,
I think it's fascinating watching people interact with the parks. I mean, like we see this in the obviously we have vloggers and bloggers and
mhm,
influencers in the American parks, but this was like not just like solo people, but families doing this, like taking pictures and like just hanging out is like a major occupation there. And it really was interesting. It's like how just going ride to ride to ride definitely seems secondary, which is a good thing because if you just went ride if you the park's only open like 10:30 a.m. until like 8 p.m. It's a short operating day. And if you like the first day before I got into Frozen, I got there the first morning, and I think I did every major attraction in the park before 2 p.m. Pretty
wow.
easily. Yeah, like 4 hours was enough to do every major ride.
Us.
I didn't do like Dumbo because it's
Yeah.
Dumbo.
Mhm.
I didn't do the teacups, but
You
I
saw them, yeah. So,
I did pretty much everything that I wanted to do in less than half a day.
wow.
So for that reason, I would say that it is absolutely worth doing as a small component of a larger trip to Hong Kong. Hong Kong was I felt the same way when I visited Disneyland Paris. I spent 3 days in Disneyland Paris and then like 2 days in Paris, and I wish I flipped that around. I
Mhm.
wish I spent more time in Paris and less time in Disneyland. Same
Right.
thing with Hong Kong. I was there for to see how I was there for that purpose. But I think that one full day, maybe spend one night in their hotels, more than enough. And then I wish I had had more time to really explore Hong Kong because that is an incredibly rich historical, cultural city. And the day that I spent in the city was not nearly enough
Not
to
enough,
scratch
yeah.
the surface for sure. But the hotels, they've got 3 hotels on site
Mhm.
right now, and the top line is the Disneyland Hotel, which is a clone of the Grand Floridian. They have the Explorers Lodge, which is if the Wilderness Lodge and Animal Kingdom Lodge and Polynesian all had a baby.
Very cool. Wow.
And the last one is the Hollywood Hotel, which is
Mhm.
sort of like, I mean, it's like their equivalent of All Stars.
Oh, yeah.
It is their cheapest hotel, but it's kind of like got more of like almost a Cabana Bay vibe. If Cabana Bay was more Californian, it's super tacky. It's super cheesy. The way I described it was that if California Adventures Superstar Limo Ride was a hotel, it would be that hotel.
Right, because they
Um,
recently reopened after refurbishment, I
yeah.
believe. I think.
I guess All Star Movies would be the closest equivalent, but if All Star Movies was plus into like a high
Mhm.
rise hotel with like they do movies by the pool in a miniature Hollywood Bowl. They have like a Hollywood sign on this little hill. The hill's maybe 20 feet tall, but they have a Mulholland Drive that winds up with
Dude, this
like
is Superstar Limit.
vintage cars like everywhere. And they've got the Archivist, which is a Marvel themed bar. So they have
Mhm.
all of the Infinity Stone, like they have the Gauntlet, and they have the Tesseract and the Eye of Agamemnon, and all the Infinity Stones in display cases around the bar. For their cheap hotel, it's really well done. We stayed in the Explorers Lodge, and I thought it was phenomenal. It's if you're into, there's references to the Adventurers Club and to Imagination Pavilion, and all they've got so much detail. If you're a Disney fan, you'd find all sorts of hidden things. Even like you walk into you were talking about earlier when we recorded the earlier podcast, talking about Dollywood having these fancy elevators.
Mhm.
Well, this hotel, the elevators are all steampunk balloons. So you walk in and it's like you're in a balloon and you see like the sky, and it's
Mhm.
got like knobs and dials and stuff. And then depending on which floor, you hear a different character voice talking to you. It's like a whole themed experience. They have uh, they had a restaurant. They have a World of Color themed restaurant that is all done with Mary Blair concept art and like
Wow.
Mary Blair style tile work, and it's just absolutely gorgeous.
This seems like it's
Uh,
for the Disney fan, like the
oh,
hardcore. Yeah,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. They even had we ate breakfast at the buffet, and they had Donald greeting people in his safari outfit during the buffet. And if you've never had Chinese breakfast, oh my God, because they will have all the same American stuff. You get your eggs and your sausages and
Mhm.
your no bagels, but smoked salmon, all that typical Western stuff. And then a full Chinese buffet of dumplings and dim sum and shumai and fried rice and stir fry and congee and like an entire Chinese dinner for breakfast. I I had a little bit of shumai. That there's only so much that I normally don't eat anything in the morning before noon.
Yeah.
But when in Rome or when in Hong Kong,
Yes.
you got to
Well, it
try it.
sounded like an amazing trip. It
I
seems
was
like
not.
a
It
once
was
in a
really
lifetime,
unbelievable.
yeah. I mean, it's
Um,
not easy to get to. It's not like Disneyland Paris for us
it
where,
no.
go
I
to
would
Costco.
say for convenience, it is definitely the I'd say even way harder to get than Tokyo.
Mhm.
Um, and it is frustrating, being that close to Shanghai and Beijing, having gone all the way out there. I mean, so close, relatively speaking. It's still further than Orlando to Oregon.
Yeah.
But
Over
at least
there.
at
You're over
least you're on that side
there.
of the planet, literally on the opposite side of the world, to be there to get that close. But as an American right now, especially one who was there technically working,
Yeah. Mhm.
it is virtually impossible to hop from Hong Kong to mainland China. They do not want you going. They do not want us going to Shanghai.
Right.
They do not want us going to Beijing. They're not interested in us right now. So so that was a bit of a shame. I would say if I had not been going for journalistic purposes, if I was just planning a trip to a foreign Disney park, I would say that going to Paris or going to Tokyo, yeah, I would say is a lot more probably cost effective and time effective. But if you are in that region, if you're going to Hong Kong for business, which is 99% of why people would go to Hong
Mhm.
Kong, it's so easy to get to and add on as part of a trip. I don't necessarily think I would ever personally make that my primary destination, but you can hop on their train system. The MTR is the best train system I've ever been on in the world. It's so clean. It is so easy, so efficient, so easy to navigate. And as a tourist, 65 Hong Kong, which worked out to like $7 US, got me an all-day pass to go. I spent a total of maybe 3 or 4 hours, in train rides alone, going from Disneyland to Central City to the opposite side of the island, then back to Disneyland for $7 for an entire, day. I mean, you can't beat it. You can even get really good food in the subways. Like
Right.
there's even their 7-Elevens, like their convenience stores
Oh,
are
yeah.
so much better than ours. And things, a bottle of water was like $1, Um, so I would say that Hong Kong Disneyland is a very cost-effective add-on if you are already in Hong Kong. I don't think it makes sense to go out there unless you are like the 1% of the 1% of Disney super fans who has to check everything off your trip. But in that case, I would say do the visa legwork and also combine it with a trip to Shanghai,
Yes.
because the Hong Kong park, I'm glad I saw it, and I think it had a really unique vibe that I did appreciate in a lot of ways. But as a standalone, if you're just judging in terms of how many unique rides do I get to do, Tokyo would definitely be a better investment.
Very, very insightful.
Yeah.
You have helped me work through some of my FOMO.
Yeah. But I will say, other than the physical and emotional strain of the long flight, everything else about it was very easy. Like I said, English is a primary language there. Navigating the airport was easy. Uber worked. The only tip I will give, Visa worked in most places, and I was able to use Apple Pay, Tap to Pay, almost everywhere. The only thing I took cash out of my ATM for was tipping people, like tipping my tour guide, tipping my the hotel housekeeping. That I pulled some cash out of the ATM, and that's the best way to do it, is not to go to a money exchange. It's just to pull some money out of your ATM. But if you do go, Octopus, you can download the app in the American App Store. It's called Octopus, and it's their own debit card system. And you can connect it to your US credit card and just transfer 100 HK at a time, which is $14 US at a time. So it's a small, so if you load up too much, you're not losing. I've probably got $7 stuck on it. So it's like, you come home from Europe with a pocket full of euros, and you throw them in, it's like, all right, so that's $5 worth. It can just sit there, fine. But it was so convenient. It works like all the subways, all of the convenience stores. It's so much quicker than pulling out a credit card. You just tap
really
your
cool.
Octopus and you
Genius, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love it. Yes, thank you so much for sharing.
I can't believe we just talked for an hour and a half straight. I hope someone watches this whole episode. We should give a prize if you make it to the end of this.
Well, I hope you write a store on the Explorers Hotel, because that is like really what I'm.
Yeah, I should put together, because I got a lot of great photos of that, and it really. The view that I had looking out over the bay. Like I said, this is basically an island, a tropical jungle island, and looking out over the bay and seeing Hong Kong City on the opposite side. This was a view that you would pay $2,000 a night for in the States. And, instead it was half the price that Animal Kingdom Lodge would have been. So if you are over 62, it costs 100 HK to get into the park for a day. $13.78 per day.
Yeah.
And I think an annual pass is like the same as 3 or 4 day tickets. So can you imagine an annual pass for like 50 something bucks a year? Crazy.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yay.
All right. Well, I think that is just going to about wrap it up.
Should we let it go?
We are going to let it go. But before we do for the first time in forever, I think it is important that we hear a quick word
Mhm.
from our sponsors.
The Attractions Podcast is brought to you by MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. Whether your next vacation is a magical trip to the theme parks, an exciting adventure to the pyramids of Egypt, or just a relaxing cruise on the turquoise waters of the Bahamas, MEI Travel provides premium service and expert advice to help you get the most of your vacation. They are always free of any hidden fees or costs to you. Visit them at mei-travel.com.
And before we go, in addition to thanking our sponsors, we want to ask you to please leave us a rating or review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to us. Follow us on attractionsmagazine.com and search for Attractions Magazine on your favorite social media platforms. Carly, where can everyone find you?
Yes, I am on Instagram at Adventures by Carly and on Twitter X at Carly Caramano.
And I'm on social media at Eskabursky, and you can find my books at theunofficialguides.com. Thank you for listening to this very special bonus episode. And until next time, we hope you folks stay safe, try something new, but most importantly, have fun. And we will see you again soon. Take care.
Bye.